Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, and here's Mildred, just for a brief visit because she hates it when I do this. She does, but she's a very, very good cat, and she doesn't want Finster to hog all of the attention. Thank you. You've been very good. Here, come over here. Just to say hi. That's a good girl. Okay, because we play fetch while we do these videos as often as not. In fact, I have her toy right here. Are you ready? You want to go get it? Ready? Yeah, go. There she goes. That's Happy Cat. So here we are with the 5 greatest Rimsky-Korsakov recordings. Oh, this was so much fun. There's lots of great Rimsky-Korsakov, but there's also lots of Rimsky-Korsakov and a lot that people don't know. So we have to cover some of the things people do know, the greatest recordings of those, and maybe a few special treats. And we begin with a special treat. The special treat being The Legend of the Invisible City of Kitezh. This is with Valery Gergiev on Decca. Now, Rimsky-Korsakov was primarily a composer of operas, but he isn't known for those operas in the West at all. They don't get performed and produced there. Gergiev deserves enormous credit for having put together with the Kirov Opera a cycle of Rimsky-Korsakov operas that finally got them recorded in really good sound with the best Russian singers, because otherwise we had to deal with all these grotty sounding melodia things which were in and out of print, and you couldn't get translations and things. Well, now of course Gergiev's are out of print, you can't get translations and things, but it was an outstanding series of recordings. And The Legend of the Invisible City of Kitezh is one of those operas that's totally unknown, and it may be his greatest opera. I don't know. It's hard to say because he really wrote half a dozen that are absolutely terrific. You know, Tsar Sultan, The Golden Cockerel, there's just a Snow Maiden. There's a whole bunch of really, really, really good operas. They're mostly based on fairy tales, mostly by Pushkin. And they, people criticize them because they say, well, they don't have real flesh and blood characters, as if opera has flesh and blood characters, right? People singing at each other for hours on end? Yeah, sure, whatever. But they have amazing tunes and wonderful, colorful situations and glittering orchestration and fabulously rewarding roles for the principals. And Kitezh is one of the biggest and grandest of all of the Rimsky-Korsakov operas. It's kind of like Brigadoon. It has a city that pops up and then disappears, and the maiden Fyodorovna, whatever the hell her name is, it's too complicated to go into. All I can tell you is the music's magnificent, and this is a recording worth hearing. So it's one of the greatest Rimsky-Korsakov recordings ever. But in this particular repertoire, that was kind of easy to do. Next, Sheherazade, a classic. The Chicago Symphony Orchestra with Fritz Reiner. Oh, wow. For just precision and color and fabulous recorded sound on RCA, it doesn't get any better. I mean, there are plenty of great Scheherazades, but this one is a really, really, really great Scheherazade. Absolutely fabulous. And it has a tam-tam at the end. As those of you who have followed my insider special sound comparison video clips, where's the damn tam-tam #1? If you go over to ClassicsToday.com and you subscribe, you can hear that. And you can have some comparative tam-tamology to get a sense of what Rimsky-Korsakov really wrote. But it's just a knockout with fabulous solo playing, and it's just got individual virtuosity and corporate virtuosity to burn. Next, the Russian Easter Overture. See, Rimsky-Korsakov wrote 3 major orchestral works at the end of his career: Sheherazade, the Russian Easter Overture, and the Capriccio Espagnol. Everything else he did was operas. But those 3 works are the ones that secured his reputation, which is kind of amazing. Well, not really, because you've got to do Russian opera in Russian, and people weren't going to be bothered with it if they weren't in Russia. So the Russian Easter Overture is one of the pieces that has the most defective sense of timing and form of anything anybody wrote. Rimsky-Korsakov always had sort of an iffy sense of timing and form, but sort of like Richard Strauss. But the Russian Easter Overture gets going, and it's marvelous. Then it stops, then it starts, then it stops, then it starts, then it ends. I mean, that's the form of the Russian Easter Overture. But the melodic material is so beautiful, and the orchestration is so glittering and glamorously, fabulously wonderful that we don't care in a good performance. In a bad performance, it can seem like it takes forever. And there's nothing worse than a performance that underplays the glitz and glamour that Rimsky-Korsakov wrote into the score, particularly the percussion with the, glockenspiel chords and tam-tam at the end, which is only marked mezzo forte, quasi campana. I know because I played it. But I was much more than mezzo forte and quasi campana because I knew what it needed. And so did Igor Markevitch with the Concertgebouw Orchestra. Oh, wow. On Philips and now Decca. What an amazing performance of the Russian Easter Overture that is. First of all, you have the old Concertgebouw, the early 60s Concertgebouw, where they sounded very different from other orchestras with that wonderful trombone sound, that really focused, tight trombone sound, and incredible woodwinds, and at the very end, when the big Russian Orthodox chant theme comes back, Markevitch he's just so amazing. He does a Stokowski, only better. He cuts the tempo in half, and lets the tam-tam go wham! Oh my God, it's amazing. You have to hear it. You just have to hear it. But it's there. The orchestra's going da da bum ba da 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 wham wham bum ba da 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 wham. Oh wow, it's just astounding, totally thrilling. Next, the Capriccio Espagnol. Well, the New York Philharmonic with Leonard Bernstein. This was actually one of his specialties. He did a version of it in his young people's concerts, where he reorchestrated the opening to show what bad orchestration was. And actually, it sounded pretty good to me because I don't think you could do anything to destroy this piece. This is one of the first pieces I actually played in student orchestra. I was the official castanetist, and I remember that part like it was yesterday. Chunk, chugga chunk, chunk, chugga chunk, chunk, chugga chunk, chunk, chugga chunk, chugga chunk, never mind. And I get a solo at the end. When the orchestra's going da da dum da 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 dum da 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 dum da 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 dum da 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 dum castanets. Anyway, so it's more fun than anyone has any right to have. It's really cast almost as like a 4-movement little symphony, and well. Most people do it well. The only question is really, are you going to let the soloist rip in their solos and then really rev it up at the end, which is what Bernstein does. The excitement is so physical. You'll be standing up and cheering when it's over. And last but not least, oh my God, one of the greatest records ever made. I think I actually have it sitting here. I keep this Rimsky-Korsakov stuff right down here. Yes, there it is. Here it is, the original issue of this. Niemi Järvi and the Scottish National Orchestra on 3 discs, 3 records, which actually they still have 3 records here. Later, they compressed it down to 2 CDs in the mid-price reissue, but this was the original. It was 3 LPs and then 3 CDs of Rimsky-Korsakov opera overtures and suites. Some music that you'd never heard before, music that is uniformly gloriously wonderful. What you get is the Overture to May Night, the Snow Maiden Suite, the Christmas Eve Suite, which I played in one of my orchestras. I was, in charge of repertoire, and we did that, and it was just great fun. Mlada, the suite from the Invisible City of Kitezh, which nobody knew. Le Coq d'Or, the Golden Cockerel, the Tale of Tsar Sultan, including the Flight of the Bumblebee, and that's what's on here. And it is absolutely fabulous. I mean, this was sort of like Chandos at its best. Brilliant recorded sound. They did some of their best work with the Scottish National Orchestra. Fabulous playing. Järvi just going crazy all over the music. The Golden Cockerel, the march at the end, when the orchestra comes in with ya ba ba da 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 bum bum ba da 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 ba dum bum ba da da. Wow. It's just incredible. An incredible set of recordings. I've praised them to the skies before. Most of you who have heard them agreed with me. I trust you will agree with me now, because these performances have not diminished a tad in their excitement and glamour and sonic splendor. So there you have it, the 5 greatest Rimsky-Korsakov recordings. I am interested to hear yours. Keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and take care.